So as we're going to jump into our group of panels, which we're going to be introducing as soon, they're going to be coming in 30 seconds. We will be discussing with them the importance of sports and technology in Africa, getting their experiences as well about sports and technology, and understanding the key areas of importance which they could actually be able to invest in and get a little bit of view on their insight as well. But we encourage you guys as you listen, think of questions that you're going to have to be able to actually ask this individuals questions about sports, about investment, about business, get to know them a little bit more, and we look forward to hearing their experiences and seeing where they are. Let me see if we got Quinn in already, or
yeah, we do. I'm right here. How's it going?
Okay, great. We got Quinn in already, so just gonna a quick introduction. Quinn is a CEO of Plantiga. Welcome to Tech Exposition. I'm Harry Esnive from Canada, founder of Harry Foundation. We should be having Quinn and Randy Osei today. Quinn, if we have you on, we'll jump right on it. We'll just get a little bit of information about yourself.
You bet.
About Plantiga.
Also, I apologize. The only reason my camera's dark is because it's pitch black outside. It's 6 a.m. here on the West Coast. A little bit of background. So my name is Quinn Sandler. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Plantiga. Plantiga is a human movement intelligence company. So basically, we have developed sensor insoles which go inside of any type of footwear, and we measure walking, running, and jumping with precision. And then we've built a layer of analytics on top of that to drive insights around health, performance, and wellness. Right now, we service about 60 different organizations in managing and screening for injury risk, and then really monitoring and driving insights around return to play or physical therapy or return to sport. We're a startup of 17. Customers kind of range between NBA teams and NFL teams and Major League Baseball, who are not the best customers in terms of what they pay. I think a lot of people think sports tech is cool until you actually start selling to teams, and then you realize that they are very cash strapped at all times.
Yeah.
But then we also sell into professional athletes, into hospitals, into sports medicine groups, into clinics. And we're just actually starting to kind of make our way into servicing some very kind of elite military groups in the US Department of Defense, as well as in Canada, and are starting to pick up some contracts in terms of monitoring, assessing kind of police departments and fire as well. So any organization that physical movement is a part of that population, that's where we come into play in helping manage their health and reducing days lost to injury.
Okay, that's great. Well, still waiting on Andy. I mean, Quinn, I got you with me, so we're gonna talk a little bit.
Let's do it. I'm here.
Okay. Great. So why is sports important, and what role does technology play within sports now? Because it's great that you've mentioned a few things about movement. We're going to jump into that later to see the role of wearable technology as well. But now think about, what role does technology play?
I think it plays a really important role. If you look at professional sport or sport in general, there's not a whole lot that differentiates somebody who is first to fifth. Let's take sprinting as an example. All kind of sport like that is a matter of inches or seconds. So whatever that they can do to maximize output and potential is something that any sport organization is going to be very interested in. And technology really is very helpful in understanding what's happening to their bodies. How did they sleep? How are they eating? How did they play? What parts of the field did they go to? So kind of both on the technical side, but then on the health side, tech plays a big role.
That's great. With your experience, I think this is going to be a key question for you. Should sports science be prioritized, especially in Africa, and why? And what are the challenges with sports science? And what about the use of data and privacy?
So it should be prioritized in Africa for sure. I feel like Africa has probably the beginnings of what will be a crazy large sport ecosystem that's only going to get more powerful in the next decade. What was the question? Sorry, you were
So,
asking.
yeah, so with sports science, as we understand,
Oh,
the study of sports science, right? It's
how should they
really,
prioritize it? Yeah,
yeah. Should it be
Um,
something we prioritize?
it has to be prioritized because what happens in professional sport is the crux of the issue is we just break a lot of athletes, male, female. In fact, females have 6 times the rate of knee injuries. As you can imagine, hips are out here and knees are in here.
Mhm.
So by not implementing sports science, by not monitoring those athletes, male and female, we have just crazy alarming rates of injury.
Mhm.
Because we don't implement sports science, let's say somebody is hurt, we're making a determination. Like if I'm a coach on the team, I'll just look back and be like, athlete X looks like they're walking better. Yeah, I think they're good to go play. So sports science needs to be prioritized because it brings objective data. That's what science, right? It
Yeah.
brings objective data to the world of sport, and that is critical.
Mhm. So with that being said, and it's great you mentioned data. What about data privacy? Because this becomes a huge issue, as you already know now in the world. That's one of the biggest assets, like data.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the more we collect this data of individuals, what about the privacy concerns? Do
I
you have any
think
views
that
on that?
yeah. So companies like ours have to take it very seriously, which we do. Um, and at the end of the day, it is the athlete who should own the data. It's
Mhm.
their data and it's on them. But yeah, I think privacy is something in the US and Canada, we have something called HIPAA. So it needs to be like HIPAA compliant, which just kind of goes around everything to do to make it super secure and encrypted. So I don't think it's actually treated as high as it should, but yeah, it's of the utmost importance.
Okay, that's great. I mean, for decades, Africa has struggled with sustaining the emergence of technology, and technology limitations have been present in both the public and private sector in Africa, and we know this stuff. And welcome, Randy. We
Hey,
see
Harry.
Randy.
How are you?
Randy, you might be calling in from Africa. This is why it took you so long to get on.
We got a comedian on our hands, guys. We got a comedian.
Yeah. Hey,
What's up,
somebody
Quinn?
got to do it. Welcome,
Harry, how
Randy,
you
guys.
been?
Randy,
Funny
also
enough,
management. Pardon me?
are we on? Is this
Yes,
on?
we're all on right now. We started 7 minutes ago,
Oh,
and
wow.
everyone is on right now. I was just trying to reintroduce you because I already was talking with Queen.
Yeah.
So everyone, this is Randy from Rosé Management and Athlete Tech Group. Randy, just a quick 30 seconds, just tell everyone about yourself, brief introduction, and then we roll in.
Oh, for sure. Randy Osei, of Ghanaian descent. I was born in Canada. I'm an entrepreneur that has worked in sports, predominantly with NBA players for the last 8 years. Over the last 2 or 3 years, I've been really getting athletes involved with technology and bridging that gap between Canadian tech and athlete entrepreneurs. So glad to be here. Big fan of Quinn and what they're doing at Plantiga and the platform that they're building. Big fan of you, Harry, and all the
Thank you
work
very
that
much.
you've done, and hearing your story and getting to know you. So I'm definitely happy to be here.
That's awesome, guys. I've known Randy for 5 years. Amazing human being, and I'm really, really blessed to have another brother who's present with us, being able to share his experiences because Africa needs to hear that story. So going into that, which is huge for us, Randy, is how important is it for African athletes to tell their story?
Oh, 100%. I mean, look at you, Harry. You came from Africa, and you jumped into the school system. You went to St. Mary's out east and transitioned, and you may have not became an NBA player or a professional basketball player, but because you had the opportunity to even just play basketball here,
Yes.
right? The relationships you were able to build, the story you were able to tell, the Harry Cares Foundation, just being able to do those things,
Yeah.
and now taking your work from here and your work with the Raptors and Raptors 905 and all of the players, being able to take that from here and then take it back, right?
Mhm.
You've gone back to Nigeria 3 years now.
Yeah, a
Three,
lot,
4
of
years now,
years.
a lot of time
Yeah.
to give back what you've learned. So
Yeah.
I think being able to tell those stories of not only how did you get here, but when you got here, what did you do? What
Thank
did you do with your time that was
you.
productive? What did you do that inspired someone else? And I think storytelling is one of the biggest thing, and I think that's why sports is so important, right?
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything outside of maybe Donald Trump that brings
Yeah.
people together like sports.
Yes.
We talk about 20,000 people in an arena for 2.5 hours to
Yes.
watch a sport,
Mhm.
something that you can digest in person, at home, on your phone, on your laptop.
Yeah.
It brings people together. So
Mhm.
because I feel sports is a conduit for culture, those stories that come through sports transcend, just the sport. Kobe Bryant's life, as
Yes.
much as we all loved him and looked up to him for what he did on the court, it was the things that he did before he got on the court and after he got on the court that really inspired people like myself, you, and tons
Mhm.
and millions of people out there. So
That is correct. And it's really interesting you mentioned all these points, which is really, really great. Then from telling an African story, because one key thing is technology helps us tell story. The next thing is the personal branding and marketing of the African athlete. Just shed a little light on that, because even with what you've done, you're branding a lot of athletes, which I think we had a discussion last year as well, where this athlete needs to brand themselves better and need people who can actually guide them, and you're doing that a lot. And we miss this in Africa. And so, how important is that for us with personal brand and marketing?
100%. I mean, an athlete, as much as you're playing a sport, you're in business, right? So every athlete, when they become a professional, they, normally start an LLC and run it like a business. Money comes in here, we flow it this way. It's the same thing that, businesses do. For athletes, being able to understand how to leverage that brand that you've built is what we're seeing now. I know COVID hit and a lot of athletes, all athletes were bored. All athletes had nothing to do, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them were like, wow, is this what retirement is like? Is this what, when I'm done playing basketball, like a lot of them were lost. A lot of them didn't know what was next or what should I be doing or who should I call? And what you saw was a lot of them became a bit more entrepreneurial. A lot of them started gaming a lot more and streaming and engaging with fans. And I don't want to say that was just for the purpose of being bored. A lot of these opportunities are revenue generators for athletes, right? But when everyone is doing it all at the same time, the market becomes saturated. So without that brand that you build outside of your sport, it's very hard for you to monetize anything outside of your sport, right?
Correct.
So we talk about athletes and their transition outside of sport. If you don't start building on your transition or your exit strategy, just like in sports, I mean, just like in business in the startup world, if you don't start building a startup strategy from your first year, the longer it takes you to build, the longer that transition is going to be for you. Like Kobe, for example, played X amount of years. I think it was 20 years or 19 years, 18 years. It's escaping me. But what we saw was Kobe exited it on his own terms and just transitioned. He talked about after he was done, he had never been to a game till like a year or two later because he was done. He prepared himself for that transition, right? But that transition starts with the brand that you build. And, the brand that's being built, I think the focus needs to be built on the relationships that you build.
Yeah, that is
LeBron. We all see LeBron. We all emulate to be LeBron, and everyone should be more than an athlete, but not everyone makes $30 million off of Apple and Beats deal. Right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy you said all these things as well, right? Because this now leads to the next thing I'm going to ask, and this will be directed to Queen, especially Queen has the whole the tech and AI version, so we have to ensure we look into the idea of personality assessment, because being able to do these things you mentioned, even with Kobe, he was able to separate his sports personality and his actual personality traits. So the sports trait and the personality trait, and from my experiences working in the NBA, there was a period I managed a program that identifies individual attributes and behavioral tendencies. So for Quinn, do you think personality assessment through the use of technology plays an active role in developing the athletes or sports? So being able to find a way to understand that athlete with the use of tech solution and separate that so the athletes are fully equipped for what's next.
Sure. I agree. We don't do that because we go more on the physical, but I think your question was on kind of the mental aspect.
Yes.
And I think that is massive. I know with teams that we've worked with, that are deploying psychological evaluations as part of their drafting. So they'll
Yeah.
literally have someone that they bring in for a workout will sit down with basically a psychologist to have a little bit of an interview, kind of looking like the, what's it called, like the Hacks and Briggs, or where they do like the personality trait profile.
Yes.
Because what they're trying to get at is, if you have a spectrum where someone is crazy talented but doesn't really work that hard, or is
Mhm.
kind of easily thrown off, you would almost prefer somebody who's less talented but works really, really hard and is a problem solver. So it's like this kind of balance where you don't really want someone crazy talented but doesn't really know how to handle the setbacks. You kind of want it even. So no, I think it plays
Yeah.
I think it plays an important role. We don't do it, but I've kind of witnessed it and been around it, so I find it fascinating.
Yeah, and that's interesting because even from my experiences then in the league for 4.5 years, we would have that for draft workouts, and it's able to separate. An example would be from our sports traits would be like coachability,
Totally.
idea orientation, rule orientation, and throw it in with competitive drive. Then you push that on the other side of personality, showing aggressiveness,
Yeah.
sociability. So having those separation there now makes you understand the athlete you're comfortable to work with and the athlete who works better in a team setting, the athletes who works better on a one-on-one, being able to separate those things. And I think with Africa, this is huge for us because we don't really invest in those things, but people maximize it here. So I think that's one of the great areas of investment as well. So, but a huge thing that kind of relates from there now becomes mental health, right? How can technology help to create more awareness about mental health? I know we see things like, the hashtag of Bell and all that, but like what other ideas do we think will pop up? And this could be a question for you, Randy or Quinn, whoever's comfortable with it.
I could start. I think one of the
You go
big
first.
things.
Yep.
I think one of the big things we'll see in terms of COVID is the focus on mental health. Um, as humans, we're so used to being social and being able to go outside and do what you want when you want. With COVID, there's this complexity that all of us are going to have to go through, even in our work, in our personal lives. A lot of us have been tied to jobs and businesses that are no longer there. So before we even get to mental health, we see this lack of identity. People have less things to identify with because there are less things that they can do, right? And because of that, the strain on mental health for everyone, athletes included, is, we have to find things that work for us. We have to find things that allow for us to decompress, release stress, and do things that bring us joy. And I think, technology is one of those things that can help us do that. So whether it's the Calm app or the meditation app that allows you to track, your thoughts, or track, meditation processes, or you have an Apple Watch that's tracking your heart rate monitor, or some of the wearable technology that helps you understand what's going on inside of yourself. And me and Quinn talk about this all the time. Is there's going to be a heightened awareness around the quantified self, right? Because going outside today, I could go to 7-Eleven and I might contract COVID. Right. Like it's really that easy for it to happen. So because, this heightened awareness of our surroundings and people, everyone wants to know what's going on inside of themselves. And as people wanting to know what's happening, wanting to know, our heart rate, we heard about different wearable technologies that have saved people's lives, right? All of these solutions, they're all great. There's going to be tons of apps and things that get launched, but it's on people to figure out what makes sense for them, right? Everyone has their own process. Everyone has their own needs, their own remedies. But technology, I think, is going to be one of those things that will hopefully be available for everyone, especially in Africa. I definitely think it's definitely more so needed.
Thanks for sharing that. Queen, do you have anything to add?
Not really. I just think that, I think more on the line of what Randy just said that we talk about. I think the quantified self and just measuring it. I think a lot of the problems that we find, whether it's psychological, even spiritual, where we're just not measuring that, so we don't really know. And I think a bunch too with the world of COVID, like a lot of people haven't had this much time with their thoughts in a while.
Yeah.
So I feel like people need to, get comfortable being alone, sitting peacefully. A lot of times we don't really know ourselves.
Well, that's awesome. We talked about wearable technology is really, really integral. We've seen that even in the bubble, trying to be able to use that to trace contact tracing as well as just even injury prevention and other NBA teams. Golden State does that as well to track real-time data and analytics and sleep. So you guys are all in line with that. Randy, question for you here. Do you think technology has impacted the performance of African teams on an international level?
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. No. I mean, the work that I do in Africa, following your footsteps with Harry Cares Foundation, what we do with the Book and Sneaker Drive when, we go down there and we see the talent, right? Because we're coming down with donations of books and shoes. And I think in our first 2 years, we've been able to gather over 1,500 pairs of shoes and over 10,000 books for the athletes and kids in Ghana. This year was going to be phenomenal. We had collected over 5,000 books and over 5,000 shoes and over 15 books. And through that process of connecting with the communities, the basketball communities, the athletes, the orphanages, the schools, so on and so forth, Africa breeds athletes. When I say athletes, I mean guys that look at the picture behind you, Harry. You're jumping over somebody. It looks like you're flying over somebody, right? Yeah. Africa produces amazing athletes, people that can run, jump, instinct, like all of these athletic traits lives in Africa. But the resources, the learning how to shoot, we don't build great shooters, right? We build guys that can fly, the Pops Mensah-Bonsus of the world, the Ben Bentles of the world, Don Makers of the world.
Yeah.
We're not Luol Dangs of the world. These guys got the chance to get resources to help support their athletic ability. But imagine if they would have got it like the way we get it here.
Exactly.
If we would have got some training, like proper training at the age of 6 or 7. As opposed to 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Right. That gap right there, being able to close that gap, I think technology is going to be able to close that. Because, when I go down to Ghana and I go down for 2 weeks, when I leave to come back, I have a WhatsApp group and, I talk to some people there, but I'm limited in how I can help. If we were able to build an app where we uploaded content around coaching and refs and building leagues, and that would make everything great. So when we go down for 2 weeks, we're maybe hosting a tournament but we don't have that ability because we're limited in our resources. So the infusion of tech in Africa and, the athletes, just the whole continent, I think Africa has the resources to solve the world's problems, but we don't tap in to use them. Majority of the world tap in to just take them. Right.
Yeah, so, those are really great points towards that, because that's where, after all these conversations, one of the most important things now, the investment areas in sports. And Quinn, you could jump into this. We'll do it like briefly, like quick 30 seconds on that. But it's really, really important with what you mentioned, key investment areas in sports with our coaching, with our national teams, with our facilities. These are areas for sure we have to push in. The storytelling, like building apps like that. There's an individual who has Atlas, ATHLST, Larry Aina. He's building those things like the next player tribune for Africa. So we need to invest in all these areas for sure to ensure that we tell our stories better and the challenges we face, celebrate each other more as well. Because people aspire to be future athletes, but don't even have any history of the other guys that they could envision. So Quinn, anything that you could add to that, quick 20 seconds as well, like key investment area?
I was just hearing you guys speak. I was like, we need to get some sensor insoles over there and we need to start collecting performance data on a bunch of those athletes, because what's interesting is I bet they don't know how high they jump. They don't know how fast they run. They don't know their ability to change direction. I was like, man, we need to get some sensor insole platforms over there and start collecting at showcases.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think, having read a little bit on Africa, it's just kind of an untapped opportunity. And in the world of sports and monitoring, like imagine if Plantiga went over there and we collected baseline data on 1,000 athletes. I could sell that database to any league to say, hey, look, do you want to access this database to see who is the best jumper, who is the fastest runner?
100%.
So I just think of like the business opportunity selfishly, but at the same time, that then collects data and highlights that like group of athletes. So anyways, my brain was just thinking about the opportunity
Quinn,
there
let's
as you guys
talk.
were talking.
Quinn,
Yeah,
let's talk.
exactly.
But I mean, this is why we're having things like this, because people like Quinn who are already immersed in the technology of it, we're finding ways that we could, build networks, build relationships, being able to connect with individuals to able to expose our athletes better, as well as bring investment to the continent, right? So it's not being selfish, it's something where you're creating an opportunity for other people as well as for yourself, right? So and it's a give and take as well, a take and give type of thing, and which I think is really, really great. We're already on our time right now. It's 9:25. We should have rounded up right now. I'll keep 30 seconds off right there. If anyone has any questions, you got 30 seconds to throw it out at either Randy or Quinn or myself. But after 30 seconds elapses and we don't hear anything, I'll just get like a quick word from Randy to, you give a message to either investors, professionals, or young athletes. What would you say?
Talking to all of them is take a serious look at Africa. A lot of the world's answers that we're looking for are in that continent, and there's a good reason why. Although Africa lacks a lot of the things that we lack on this side of the world, it's rich in a lot of other things. I don't have enough time to share what those things are.
Yeah.
But there's a huge opportunity there. And if I had a lot of money, I would be over there, building over there and creating infrastructure and opportunity.
Great. Quinn, you as well. Feel free to share something like quick 20 seconds and leave your email as well in the chat, just so people could reach out when necessary. We'll leave all that information there. So if there's additional question, then we could continue from there.
I would just echo Randy. I just think that even as a tech business, there's just so much opportunity to kind of go and collect and help digitize and bring quantified data to that world. So yeah, if anyone has any questions for me as well, you can fire me off an email at any time.
Okay, great. We'll have those information sent in the chat. Thank you very much, Randy, for being here. It's great to see you again, brother. We'll have to schedule a time. Absolutely. And Quinn, it's great to learn from you. I look forward to connecting to learn more.
My pleasure. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Everyone, hit me up.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you.